Yes. So, hello students. In the last class, I was discussing how Socrates evolved his idea of justice. So, Socrates gives the analogy of city and soul. And Socrates says that city means city state is a bigger form of individual. Fine. And in this context, he suggests that it is easy to understand in the big letters. Fine. And hence, let us first discuss justice. First, understand justice at the level of the state, and then we can understand justice at the level of individual. Okay. And then what he says that justice, aim of justice is peace. What is the aim of justice? Peace, harmony, and excellence. What happens because of justice? There is a peace, there is a harmony, and there is a excellence. At the level of a state, he suggests that we can achieve all the three things when all classes, they are properly stationed. In fact, if we see the literal meaning of the concept of justice, the justice basically means, or if you see the literal meaning of this word justice, you will find that justice means proper fitting. Everything at a proper place. In your room, if everything is at proper place, you feel at peace, harmony, settled, and you can work in a more virtuous way. So same thing is the literal meaning of the term justice is virtuous. Justice means virtuous. Okay, or sorry, the literal meaning of justice is proper fitting. When each class is stationed properly and each class works according to the spiritual qualities of the soul and do not interfere in the work of the other, we say this state is a just state. Is this point clear? Fine. And this is something which is originating very, very naturally. This is very natural idea of justice. So we can equate, nature with God. So that is God's idea of justice. So what happens in the God's kingdom? In God's kingdom, everybody performs its task. No one interferes in the task of the other, and this results into the peace, harmony, and excellence. Okay. Now, this idea of justice will form the basis of a just state. So in your copies, write what is a just state? What is a just state according to Plato? So in a just state, every person is properly stationed. You can also say each man gets his due. Fine. And he is stationed according to the spiritual quality of soul. Means God has made you for the specific purpose and you are performing that particular task. After this, each person is performing its task. Next, no one is interfering in the task of the other. Fine. And if we see the population of a state, we can categorize the population of the state into 3 classes. Fine. So next is, if we see the population of the state can be categorized into 3 classes. There are 3 basic classes, 3 basic functions. First is production. You need producer classes. Second is defense. And the third is the ruling class or the man of reason, because those who are in the ruling class, they have to take decisions, they have to take wise decision. Fine. And only when man of reason are ruling, there will be peace and harmony. When the men of reason are not ruling, there will be a chaos in the society. There will be disruption in the society. So this is how he explains the ideal state. Now let us understand the idea of justice at the level of individual, or who is a just man. Okay, so the next thing is just right after discussing the idea of justice at the level of the state, Plato discusses the idea of justice at the level of individual. I am repeating. After discussing the idea of justice at the level of the state, Plato discusses the idea of justice at the level of individual. Okay. Now let us understand idea of justice at the level of individual. Idea of justice at the level of individual, or basically, who is a just man? Who is a just man? Who is a just man? Fine. Now, just man means happy man. One who is happy. One who is satisfied. So, the just man is a happy man. Just man is one who is happy and who is satisfied. Fine. And one who is at peace with himself and in harmony with others. Who is in peace with himself and in harmony with the others. So who is a just man? Which man is a just man? So justice is a virtue. Virtue means excellence. Excellence means happiness. So even if you want to know what is a real happiness, a person who possesses lot of wealth is happy, or a person who is just is happy. So if you have a real knowledge, you will realize that the just man is much happier than the unjust man. The happiness of the unjust man is just the illusion of happiness. It is no real happiness. So Thrasymachus' argument was, it is better to be unjust than to be just. Because if we are unjust, we benefit us. If we are just, we suffer and others take the benefit. Socrates will prove that no, if we are just, others are benefited. That is true. Means if we are just, we will be in harmony with others. But he also says that if we are just, we are also benefited because our life will be peaceful. And if my life is peaceful, that is an excellent life. I have lot of money, but no peace. I don't have lot of money, but peace. A person with the true knowledge will understand that the life of peace is more happy, more desirable than the life of wealth. So this is how he will explain the idea of just man. So who is a just man? Just man lives in peace and harmony with others. Just man leads an excellent life. Fine. So that is a just man. Now, the question is, which man is a just man? So he explains that in every man matlab human being, there are three elements. In every human being, there are three elements: reason, courage, and appetite. Reason, courage, and appetite. Fine. So, which man is just? Which man is just? So, that man is just in which reason controls courage and appetite. That man is a just man in whom reason, control, courage and appetite, and courage controls appetite. Fine. A very serious and very important thought, even for our life also. Understand, if you are a just man, you will be happy. You will be happy because you are a peaceful soul. Peaceful soul. When you yourself is peaceful, you can spread peace. When you yourself is disturbed, you cannot spread peace. So you are a peaceful soul. So when you are a peaceful soul, you are living in harmony with others. You don't fight with others. So you are in peace with yourself, and only when you are in peace with yourself, you can be in peace with the others. So you are in harmony with the others. Okay? And thus, this life is the excellent life. This life is the virtuous life. This life is excellent and this life is virtuous. To understand this life is excellent and this life is virtuous, you should have the knowledge of which life is the excellent life. So at superficial level, you may look at some rich person and you can feel envy that he is having a good life. But maybe when you go deeper, you may find that he is only pretending to have a good life, but in reality, he is not a satisfied soul. He is not a happy soul. His soul is greedy. His soul is controlled by appetite. Okay? So a just person is one in whom reason controls courage and appetite. In whom reason controls courage and appetite. Fine. Again, the just person is one in whom courage controls appetite. Courage controls appetite. Fine. I hope you are writing side by side, in which the courage controls appetite. Fine. So if I want to tell you the soul, how the soul of just man looks like. The soul of just man is where reason controls courage and courage controls appetite. Fine. So what is appetite? Appetite is your desires. Appetite is your passions. Fine. But if you try to fulfill your appetite not by courage but by fraud, and if you do not know how to control your appetite for worldly pleasures, you will bring the self-destruction. So only that person is just. Only that person is happy in whom reason controls courage and appetite. That is a definition of happiness. And when your reason is controlling your passions, that is the situation when you are free in the real sense. In democracies, maybe this is not possible. So freedom is not doing anything freedom doesn't mean doing anything to satisfy your appetite. Freedom does not mean that your appetite controls your reason. Your appetite controls, if you have an appetite for money and your appetite controls your reason and you earn money by unfair means, then you are a slave of your appetite and you are not free. So real freedom is not absence of control. The real freedom is when reason controls our desire and our appetite. Fine. So Plato does not use the freedom. Plato used this word, you can say, the real happiness will be when reason controls appetite. So in this world, if you want to be happy, in this world, if you want to be free, in this world, if you want to be in peace, you will have to control your appetite. So that is why in Indian philosophy, it is said, Santosh Paramam Sukham. The more satisfied you are, happier you are. Okay. Now I will tell you about Gandhi's idea of Swaraj. Gandhi is very much influenced by Plato and Socrates. And Gandhi has described Swaraj. For Gandhi, the Swaraj was not just the liberation from foreign rule. For Gandhi, the Swaraj was the freedom from our passions, freedom from the control of our passions. So Swaraj means man should control himself. Okay, so only that man has a Swaraj who is not a slave of his appetite. So Plato's conception of virtue, justice, happiness is very similar to Gandhi's concept of Swaraj. So Gandhi's Swaraj was self-control. So if you will give a comparative view, it is always better. The similar view is found in Buddha. Buddha also said, desires is a source of sorrow. Fine. So we should follow eightfold path to control the desires. Similar ideas are expressed in Upanishads. Similar ideas are expressed in other religions, controlling the appetite. I hope you have understood the meaning of just man. So just man is a man who knows how to control his appetite. Fine. So understand who is a just man. Just man is one in whom reason controls courage and courage controls appetite. Fine. So control. What is common thing is control. So what is the theme? What is the means of liberation? What is the means of true happiness? The means of liberation, the means of true happiness is the liberation or the freedom from the chains of desire. It is a liberation from the chains of desire. And as I told you that according to Gandhi, what is Swaraj? The Swaraj is freedom from desires. So you can later on find that many of Gandhi's ideas are influenced by the Greek thinkers. Okay? Fine. So if you have not written, you can just write who is a just man and write that the man in whom reason controls the courage and appetite is a just man. He is the man who will have a happy, peaceful, harmonious and excellent life. Fine. So very strong idea in the justice is control. Justice teaches you self-control. This control is also called as temperance. Temperance. Justice means control. Justice means temperance. Fine. So the man of appetite can also be virtuous if he keeps himself under the control of reason and courage. So the man of appetite can also have a virtuous life if he observe the virtue of temperance. And how he can observe the virtue of temperance? By putting himself under the control of those who have reason and courage. So justice is control. Justice is temperance. Justice is the virtue of all virtues. If reason is not controlled, if courage is not controlled, if appetite is not controlled, there will be chaos, there will be disharmony, there will be no peace. Okay, so you have understood what is justice. Okay, so what is justice? If this is a question, what is justice? The answer is justice is a virtue. As a virtue, what justice gives? It gives you excellence and it gives you peace. Fine. So justice is a virtue for itself. Justice is to be sought for itself. And what is justice? Justice is a virtue. Justice is an individual virtue. And justice is the political virtue. Means if state is just, it is virtue. If individual is just, it is virtue. Fine. So justice is both an individual virtue and the political virtue. Fine. So you can just write what is justice. Right. Justice is a virtue. Next, write justice is both the individual virtue as well as the political virtue. At individual level, justice gives peace, happiness, excellence. Fine. At the level of state, justice gives peace, excellence, and happiness. Fine. So the principle of justice at the level of individual and the principle of justice at the level of state, both are same. But man is a smaller version of the state. So it is easy to understand the idea of justice at the level of individual, at the level of state first. I hope you have understood this. Fine. So, right, according to Socrates, justice is virtue and justice is a comprehensive virtue. Justice is comprehensive virtue. Justice as comprehensive virtue means justice has an instrumental value. Justice has an instrumental value. Then you write justice as an instrumental value means its importance is, justice as an instrumental value means its importance is because of the consequences. Justice as a instrumental value means its importance is for the consequences. Right. What are the consequences of justice? What are the consequences of justice? The consequences of justice are peace, excellence, harmony. Consequences of justice are peace, excellence, harmony. Next, justice is intrinsic value. Justice is intrinsic value. Right? Justice is important for itself. Justice is important for itself. Now write why. Why justice is important for itself? Right? Because it brings satisfaction to the soul. Because it brings satisfaction to the soul. Fine. Right. Hence for Socrates, the soul of just man. Hence for Socrates, the soul of just man is always happier than the soul of unjust man. Thus for Socrates, the soul of the just man is always happier than the soul of unjust man. Is this point clear? So, right, hence Socrates not only tells what is justice, he also explains which type of virtue justice is, and he also establishes that it is better to be a just than unjust. Okay. Now, I will come to the most important point or the question in his theory of justice. After this long story and a background on justice, we should be able to solve two questions. The first question is, state is individual writ large. The second question is, justice is architectonic concept. Fine. So in the theory of justice, nobody will ask, explain Plato's theory of justice. Then even 2.5 hours in exams will not be sufficient. So they will ask the statements. One statement we have already done. Justice as the interest of the strong. So what are the expected questions? The expected questions from the theory of justice is justice as the interest of the strong. This we have already done. Now we will do two more questions. State is individual writ large. And then we will do this question. Justice is architectonic notion. Fine. So now let us do this question. State is individual writ large. So very easy to do this question. State is individual writ large. So I am not dictating the answer as such. I am giving you the points and the structure of the answer. Okay. So the first thing is, in this statement, suppose they ask you to comment. State is individual writ large, and they ask you to comment on this, that state is individual writ large. Fine. So first of all, I will give the literal meaning. Fine. I will give the literal meaning of this statement. What will be the literal meaning of this statement? The literal meaning of this statement will be, state is a bigger or magnified version of individual. State is a bigger or the magnified version of individual. Fine. In Hindi I am writing राज्य व्यक्ति का वृहत स्वरूप है. So first, in your exams, don't use Hindi. I'm just telling you for those who can understand Hindi, to understand the meaning, that state is a bigger or the magnified version of individual. So after giving this literal meaning, you should tell the context of the statement. Fine. So next thing is, you should tell the context of the statement. And again I am saying, in your answer you don't have to give this subheading, you have to keep this in your mind. So context of the statement. What is the context of the statement? The context of the statement is, Socrates uses this statement while deriving the idea of justice. While deriving the idea of justice. Okay? And what do you mean by this? In next line, explain it. Next line, you explain what you mean to tell while writing that he is telling this statement while deriving the idea of justice. Okay? So you can tell that He gives the analogy of a small letter and big letter, because he is using what statement? State is individual writ large. So he is giving the analogy of a small letter and big letter. Fine. Now again explain this. See, it should be in your flow and self-explanatory. Explain this, that according to him, it is easy to comprehend. It is easy to comprehend in capital letter than in a small letter. It is easy to understand something written in a big shape rather than in the small shape. Fine. Next you will have to explain why to apply in context of a state and individual. Your next line should be explaining this. So, according to him, a state is a bigger form of individual. A state is a bigger form of individual. Fine. Right. The so-called city and soul analogy. City and soul analogy. Fine. And next line. This line is very, very important to understand the crux of the entire statement. So, understand this line very importantly, that according to, this you should underline this, according to Socrates, first thing is, in order to understand the idea of justice. The idea means the idea of justice. We have to understand God's, we have to understand God's idea of justice. And how do you reach to God in this world? By application of reason. So in order to understand the idea of justice means the perfect idea of justice, which is free from contradiction, because the existing ideas of justice, they are full of contradiction. The ideas of Thrasymachus, the Cephalus, Polemarchus. Fine. So we have to understand God's idea of justice. Fine. And how? By application of dialectics. By application of dialectics. And where is a God's idea of justice? God's idea of justice is imprinted on human soul. God's idea of justice is imprinted on the human soul. Fine. Next line, all the more important to understand. I hope you have written that. God's idea of justice, and that is imprinted on human soul. And to understand that idea, you need to do dialectics or logical reasoning. Fine. Now, next line is very important to explain that you are understanding what Socrates is telling. Fine. So write, according to Socrates, the idea of justice. This is the key line. The idea of justice. Where is that idea? Found in human soul. Finds its expression. This is the key line. Find its expression in the just political order. Remember this statement. According to Socrates, the idea, this is the crux of this statement. State is individual writ large. So according to Socrates, the idea of justice found in human soul finds its expression in the just political order. Fine. I am again repeating, if anybody has not understood this statement, read this statement carefully. You will understand the essence of this view that state is individual writ large. Fine. So according to Socrates, the idea of justice means God's idea of justice found in human soul finds its expression in the just political order. Fine. Next, you have to explain what is the just political order and why. What is the just political order and why? Fine. So write, in any state there are three essential functions. And here to explain that you know the terms etc., you can also write pig state. In pig state you don't find versus fevered state. So in any so-called fevered state, there are three essential functions. Find functions to govern, second to defend, and third to produce. Fine. Defend, govern, and to produce. Fine. And in a just state, all three functions are performed by the people in accordance to the spiritual qualities of soul, spiritual qualities of soul without interfering in the task of each other. Without interfering in the task of each other. Fine. And this will result into peace, harmony, and excellence. Peace, harmony, and excellence. Fine. Similarly, in a just soul, all the three elements are placed in the proper order. That is reason, controlling, courage, and appetite. Fine. So this is how he derives the meaning of justice and explain why justice is a virtue, and he explains further what you can write. This is how he derives the concept of justice and explains that justice is a comprehensive virtue. He explains that justice is a comprehensive virtue. He shows that justice is ethical as well as political virtue. This much explanation you will have to write. Is this point clear? Justice is the interest of the strong. After that, you will have to write comment. Fine. So in the next paragraph, he derives the concept, explains justice is a comprehensive virtue, and shows justice is both a political and and ethical virtue. And now in the last paragraph, you will do comment. In the comment, you will do two things. First, you will explain what is the hidden meaning of this statement. State is individual writ large. Second, you will also have to explain. First, you will have to explain the hidden meaning of what is that state is individual writ large, and second, you will have to explain, do you agree with his view that man is individual writ large? So as a part of hidden meaning, you can write, state is individual writ large. You should show your ability to analyze. So state is individual writ large also explains that the nature of the state is shaped by the character of the people living in the state. As he says that no state does not come out of oak or rock, state rather inheres in the mind of the people. Okay? Right? And then you can say, thus he wants to say that the nature of the state is shaped by the character of the people living in the state. As he says that no state does not come out of oak or rock, state rather inheres in the mind of the people. Okay? Right? And then you can say, thus he wants to say that only when people are just, the state can be just. Fine? So a just person will perform the task for which he is naturally suited, thus will get excellence and will not interfere, and thus there will be peace and harmony. Okay, so thus he explains that in justice you will find that without men have to be just, you cannot have the just state. Hence he says that in a just state, every person will exercise the self-control. The man of reason will not interfere in the task of the man of appetite. And then you write, in his scheme of justice, the idea is not that justice is about equality. His idea is justice is about harmony. Justice is about cooperation. Justice is an art of living. Fine. So he is not focused on giving everybody equality. He is focused on giving everybody a good quality of life, a harmonious existence. Again, pay attention to what I am saying. Plato is not looking at justice in terms of equality. Plato is looking justice in terms of harmony and a good quality of life. Okay, so now let us do the second statement, and the second statement is justice as architectonic principle. Now, justice as architectonic principle. What is architectonic? Architectonic comes from the word architecture. Fine. And it is linked to the role of architect. Architecture and the role of architect. Fine. So what is the role of architect? Architect is the one who will design, who will give the basic design of the building. Fine. Architect will tell what is to be fitted where. There will be a difference between the architect and those who will actually work on this idea, who will actually implement the idea. So architect will guide the labor, architect will guide the mason, the architect will guide the carpenter, the architect will guide the artist how to build their creation. Fine. So architect will put the limit. Architect will tell the carpenter the size of the door. The door will have no relevance how so beautiful the door is if it is not fitted at the right place. Fine. So what is a role of justice? The role of justice is like an architect. The role of justice is proper fitting. Courage, courage, appetite and reason in themselves carry no meaning until and unless they are placed at the proper place. If reason is placed in place of courage, if your kitchen is in place of bathroom, bathroom in place of kitchen, door in place of window, window in place of door, the fault is with the architect. He has not designed it properly. So justice is an architectonic principle. The principle of justice is taken from the skill of architect. The role of architect is to make the proper design so that architect will guide the plumber, architect will guide the person who is a carpenter, architect will guide the person who is building. So this is how the justice has a role in controlling the others. You have understood why I have used this word or how Plato has used this word. It is an architectonic principle.